name is Sara Jayoussi. My father is Jayoussi. Before he was arrested, my earliest memories are like 6, 7, 8. And my memories of him are just him sitting on a couch and I could see the back of his head. He was constantly at work. And when he did come home, he was just on the living room sofa watching TV for as little as he can, then just going to sleep. I don't remember him that much. Most of my life, I've known my dad from him being in prison. And the way that he was in prison was I could never hug him. I could never touch him. It was just between, there's just always a glass between. And even when the glass was removed those final years, even with the glass there, we could never share certain things. We didn't want to worry him. I couldn't tell him about how I was struggling to even want to live, about how a lot of things happened, a lot of traumas happened on top of this, and it was like having two separate lives, where I had to just tell my dad I'm doing fine, and he'd say the same thing, I'm doing fine, and I know he wasn't. Our communication was when he was held in solitary, the first year, even before the trial, when they were pressuring him, work with the government against Muslims. We would just, my mom came up with a way to talk to him, like, it was downtown Miami, and the solitary confinement was a large building, and she'd write with water. And we didn't know which window was his. We could see all these people like banging, waving these white tissues. And she'd write with him with water. Then we brought chalk. And slowly other family members would bring chalk and write for their family members. So that was one communication in the hand through the glass. The way we were treated when we went to those prisons to see him use was terrifying. In the terror hut, when they had to take a picture of us before we went in each time, if that camera didn't work after the 8-hour drive, after the money we would spend for it, then the visit was just canceled. You weren't allowed to see him if you didn't get a picture taken, even if you'd had one just the day before taken. Now, we always used to tell my dad we're good on money, but the thing is, our family members weren't even helping us, our relatives. And we would do things like clean doctor's offices. So when I was 13, I'd, like after school, go with my mom at nighttime in Detroit and clean these doctor's offices. I used to be so ashamed of it, like of the things that I was doing. I wouldn't tell people about my dad, I wouldn't tell people about my job. I was living like completely different lives, 100% with each person I met. When my father did finally get out, it was a complete shock to him. They added 20 years of probation. He can only stay in a certain part of Michigan. He can't talk about any of this. He can't talk to any of us. Can't talk to people that have already been in prison. The way he is now, it's very scary. It's like really, we haven't left prison, it's almost worse. Because we had to, the probation officers in Detroit were really bad. The way that they came by the house was with guns, and all the neighbors would look, and that was bad for us. It was dangerous for us to be seen that way. And I was unsafe at the time in that Detroit house because of something that happened. We had to leave and go to West Bloomfield. $1,700 a month was the rent. We could not pay that, so he's working 5 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day, and he comes back, his back is aching, his feet are hurting. He's not even really human, like he shakes all the time. It's really hard for him to speak. It's kind of like the same thing, like a time rewind, and I see just the back of his head watching TV. He's not even watching half the time, he's just flipping through channels. He's just not there, he can't eat certain things because of prison. He's very scared of holding glass, anything in glass containers, because he's scared of it falling and breaking. He's always scared to get in trouble. It's really hard to see how traumatized he is, but at the same time, the way he's still trying not to worry us, the way he's just shut off completely. I still don't know who my dad is. I'm never gonna get to know who my dad is. And that's the hardest part.
Yes, PTSD.
Yeah. both of us have PTSD, so it's like we turn corners in the house and we're scaring each other. We're just jumping. So he doesn't like going outside, but he'll open the windows and just look at all the trees outside and just like, I could just hear him sometimes just sighing. But I'm still trying to get to know my dad. I just want to have him in my life. I want to say I knew him because he's getting older and he's sick, and I don't want to lose him again forever this time. He lost both of his parents when he was in prison, and he never got to see them. When he was arrested, my grandpa was having open heart surgery, and he didn't even get to see him for that surgery because they arrested him right away from the airport. I just want to get to know my dad before I don't know. I just want to know him.
Yeah.